バジ君今バジが殴ってんのは東満の
Last time on Tokyo Revengers, the devastating explosion and Takemichi's unwavering love for Hinata left us all on the edge of our seats, but there are still so many unanswered questions. Who was responsible for Hinata's death? Who is the mysterious figure lurking in the shadows, pulling the strings? Join us as we dive deeper into the world of Tokyo Revengers and continue to follow Takemichi on his quest for love and redemption. At the start of episode 13, we cut to Takemichi at Hina's funeral. At Hinata's funeral, Takemichi Hanagaki feels a wave of emotions. He takes a trip down memory lane, reminiscing about the time when he first met Hinata at her doorstep. He remembers the joyous moments they shared, as well as the unfortunate car crash that robbed him of his love. With tears streaming down his face, he remembers telling Hinata that he will always love her. As Takemichi approaches Hinata's shrine, he can feel his heart racing. His body freezes as he stands before the shrine, overwhelmed with grief. Naoto, who is also mourning Hinata's death, cries out in agony. It is a heartbreaking moment for both of them. Just then, Hinata's mother approaches Takemichi, remarking on how much he has grown. She hands him a necklace that was once Hinata's favorite and a gift from him. Takemichi is moved to tears as Hinata's mother tells him that Hinata must have loved him very much. Later, Naoto shares his findings about Atsushi, who is married with children in the current future. Takemichi is puzzled as to why Atsushi still went ahead to kill Hinata, knowing it was a suicide mission. Naoto suggests that Atsushi's family was being used to force him into doing it, as they are currently missing. Naoto also inquires about Atsushi's last words, and upon hearing that they were the same as the previous time leap, he concludes that their actions were in vain. They were unable to escape fate and change the future. However, Takemichi is determined to change the future. He believes that Ken's death must not have been the deciding factor that turned Tamon bad. He is convinced that there must be a way to get to the root of the problem and destroy Tamon, and to do that, he is willing to become the leader of Tamon. Naoto is amused by Takemichi's plan and bursts out laughing, but Takemichi is dead serious. He will do anything to save Hinata. Naoto, moved by his friend's determination, thanks him for cheering him up. As they wonder how saving Ken could lead to the current future, Naoto decides to look into Ken's current life. On October 20th, 2017, Naoto reaches out to Takemichi, bringing him to the Tokyo Detention Center to unravel the mystery of Ken's whereabouts. Takemichi can feel his heart beating faster as they approach the jail. Upon seeing Ken in the visitation booth, Takemichi's eyes well up with tears as he had not seen Ken in so long. However, despite being on death row, Ken is genuinely happy to see Takemichi doing well. Takemichi introduces Naoto to Ken, and the three of them engage in a heartfelt conversation about the current state of Tamon. As they delve deeper into the matter, Ken reveals that he is on death row because he committed murder. Takemichi is shocked and curious, so he asks Ken to explain what happened. Ken boldly admits that he has no regrets and takes full responsibility for the current state of Tamon. However, it is clear that he is not happy with the way things turned out. He reflects on the Tamon of his middle school days, which he recalls as being better. They used to have fun, and it meant everything to him. Despite not regretting his actions, Ken wishes that he could go back in time and do things differently. He longs for a second chance to set things right. When Takemichi asks about Kisaki, the air in the visitation booth changes. Ken's expression turns dark, and he reveals that Kisaki forced him to kill. He had no choice but to follow orders, and the guilt has been eating him alive. If he had the chance to do it all over again, Ken says he would make sure to kill that one guy, Kisaki. As the visitation time draws to an end, Ken orders Takemichi to leave Tokyo for his safety. Kisaki will stop at nothing to eliminate anyone who poses a threat to his power. As Ken leaves, Takemichi asks him why Kisaki would target him. Ken discloses that Kisaki's love for Manjiro turned into hatred, and he wants to take away everything that Manjiro holds dear. The conversation echoes through the hallways of the prison as Ken thinks back to the murders he committed on the orders of Kisaki. Back at Naoto's apartment, Takemichi is still in disbelief about Ken's status as a murderer. As he reflects on Ken's words, he wonders what kind of person Kisaki really is. Naoto chimes in, informing him that Kisaki currently holds one of the most crucial positions in Taman as the acting leader. He believes Kisaki is responsible for Hinata's repeated murders, but unfortunately, the police cannot find any leads on him. Feeling determined, Takemichi admits that he hasn't met Kisaki in the past yet, but he wants to defeat him. He reiterates his vow to become the leader of Taman, which leaves Naoto in shock since he thought Takemichi was joking. However, Takemichi remains steadfast in his decision as he believes it's the only way to save everyone and stop Kisaki. With his plan set in motion, Takemichi decides to become the captain of the 3rd Division, in Pachin's place. Naoto expresses his concern, calling it a reckless idea, but he trusts Takemichi to succeed and shake the future. As Takemichi travels back to the past, he can't help but wonder how everything went so wrong in the future. However, he remains focused on fixing it. He arrives at a bathhouse where he's surprised by Manjiro playfully popping up from the water. Ken tells him to quiet down and Takemichi asks about his stab wound, which Ken brushes off as nothing. Ken then shows off his scar and impressive abs, making Takemichi question whether he's really a middle schooler. However, Mikey's punch to his abdomen proves otherwise. The trio ends up playfully fighting in the bathhouse, and Takemichi can't help but wish things could be like this forever. They eventually leave the bathhouse where they meet up with Mitsuya, Yasuhiro, and Nahoya. Mikey tells Takemichi that they're going to nominate a new 3rd Division captain, and with his determination at an all-time high, Takemichi is ready to take on the challenge. Will Takemichi rise to the occasion as an officer of the Tokyo Manji gang? Before we find out, take a moment to answer the question of the day. How far would you go for revenge? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. As the crowd gathers, Ken makes an announcement that they will be selecting a new 3rd Division captain. Excitement and anticipation fill the air as everyone wonders who will be chosen. Manjiro calls out for the new captain to come forward, which makes Takemichi's heart race with the thought that he might be the one. Meanwhile, Teta Kisaki walks up, and Takemichi recalls having seen him before but can't quite remember where. Teta sits with his back towards Manjiro, which triggers anger among the other members. Suddenly, Teta's man steps forward and declares that Teta Kisaki is the new 3rd Division captain. This news sends shockwaves through the crowd, particularly for Takemichi, who remembers being warned about Teta's notorious reputation. Some members even recognize Teta as part of Mobius, which fuels the resentment against him. Ken puts a stop to dissenting voices, and Manjiro explains that they need to defeat Valhalla, and to do that, Taman needs to grow. He then reiterates Teta Kisaki as the new 3rd Division captain. Knowing that this outcome will lead to the worst consequences and impact Hinata's future, Takemichi musters the courage to interrupt the ceremony and punches Teta. Ken immediately reprimands him for his outburst, and the other captains get angry with Takemichi for showing disrespect towards Manjiro's decision. As chaos ensues, Keisuke Baji steps up to attack Takemichi, but Takashi Mitsuya intervenes to stop him. Manjiro questions why Keisuke is there since he was banned from the meetings due to internal conflicts. Keisuke reveals that he punched someone and is now leaving Taman to join Valhalla. He also resigns from his position as the 1st Division captain of Taman, sending shockwaves through the crowd. Teta then mocks Takemichi by asking him if he prefers to be punched in the face or the gut, and without thinking, Takemichi chooses the latter. In an instant, Teta punches him in the face, knocking him out, leaving the audience stunned. Later, Takemichi wakes up to find Manjiro by his side, wondering if he has any ill feelings towards Teta. As Manjiro explains the hardships of running an organization and the constant turnover of members, he asks Takemichi for a favor. He reveals the past rivalry he had with Keisuke, one of the founding members of Taman, who previously punched Takemichi. Manjiro wants Takemichi to bring Keisuke back from Valhalla as he values him more than Teta. In exchange, Takemichi wants Teta kicked out of Taman, as he believes he will ruin the organization in the future. Manjiro agrees, but warns Takamichi of the consequences if he fails, stating that he will kill him. Additionally, he notifies Takashi that Takamichi is now officially a member of Taman under his 2nd division. After the encounter, Takamichi stays back to wash away the blood from his face and ponders over his embarrassing conversation with Naoto. He then discovers a charm and phone, recognizing a photo of the founding members of Taman and noticing an unfamiliar 6th person. Meanwhile, Keisuke meets up with Kazutora Hanamiya, the same person from the photo. Takamichi is grateful to Takashi for welcoming him into his division and is excited to embark on his new journey with Taman. As he sets out to fulfill his mission, he contemplates the difficulties of leadership and the importance of trust within an organization. Will he succeed in bringing Keisuke back, and will Teta be kicked out of Taman? Only time will tell. The following day at school, Takamichi is deep in thought, wondering what he can do to bring Keisuke back. Suddenly, Atsushi and the rest of his friends approach him, congratulating him on getting into Taman and expressing their desire to join soon as well. Despite their enthusiasm, Takamichi knows that the reality of Taman is far from glamorous. Desperate to bring Keisuke back and save his life, Takamichi confides in his friends, explaining the dire situation. Kazushi, a delinquent encyclopedia of sorts, steps in to provide some much-needed context. As he shares information about Taman and its various divisions, Takamichi realizes just how little he knows about this dangerous world. With the mention of Valhalla, a notorious group with a mysterious leader, Takamichi begins to understand just how deep he has gotten himself into. However, when Kazutora Hanamiya, a powerful member of Taman, enters the classroom looking for him, Takamichi's world is turned upside down once again. Despite the danger, Takamichi agrees to follow Kazutora to Valhalla's hideout in the hopes of finding Keisuke. As they leave the school, Takamichi can't help but feel a sense of unease, knowing that anything could happen once he steps foot into the Headless Angel's territory. As they make their way to the abandoned game center, Takamichi observes that Kazutora is in his 3rd year, yet he has never heard of him. In response, Kazutora reveals that he only attended school for 1 term during his 1st year, as he was later sent to juvie. As they approach the center, Takamichi spots a graffiti of a headless angel, which immediately catches his attention. Upon entering, Takamichi notices that the atmosphere is vastly different from that of Taman's. Suddenly, he witnesses Keisuke beating someone and is left puzzled by the scene before him. Kazutora clarifies that it is a test of faith, as converting from Taman to Valhalla is akin to changing one's religion. Keisuke is currently beating his 1st Division vice captain in Taman, his most trusted retainer. When Keisuke finally stops, he turns to Shuji and asks if he has proven himself enough. The Valhalla members comment that Keisuke has gone much further than expected, but he dismisses their praise, stating that he did not come for a lecture. Hanma then calls out to Kazutora, who introduces Takamichi as a new member of Taman. However, Takamichi soon realizes that he may be the next person to undergo their test of faith, and the Valhalla members begin to cheer for his death. Shuji explains that Keisuke, one of Taman's founding members, wishes to join Valhalla and that his support would greatly benefit their cause. However, they fear that he may be a spy, and thus Kazutora was tasked with bringing a witness. Shuji asks Takamichi for Keisuke's last words at Taman's last meeting, and Takamichi responds by revealing that Keisuke had announced his intention to join Valhalla, and that Taman was his enemy. Kazutora confirms that this information is sufficient and that Takamichi is more knowledgeable about Taman than he was during his previous time with the gang. Keisuke then confirms his desire to join Valhalla, pledging to help them take down Manjiro. Shuji welcomes Keisuke as a new member of Valhalla. As Takamichi tries to wrap his head around why someone as essential as a founding member would betray Taman, Keisuke surprises him by stating that Kazutora is also a founding member. A wave of recognition washes over Takamichi as he realizes he had seen Kazutora's picture before. Keisuke's words drip with conviction as he reveals that Kazutora holds a grudge against Taman that he will never forget. The story takes a sudden turn as Keisuke takes us back to the summer of 2003, when he and Kazutora were just 12 years old. The 2 young boys had a typical meeting spot, but on this particular day, they came across some troublemakers that they decided to take on. As fate would have it, the very same day, the Taman jackets were ready and everyone was excited. The scene was set for a joyous occasion. But then, chaos ensued when a minor argument between Ken and Manjiro over a chocolate parfait took an unexpected turn. Keisuke then goes on to reveal that a dreadful accident occurred after they had taken the group photo, an accident that nobody could have ever anticipated. That wraps up the 15th episode of Tokyo Revengers Season 1. Will we finally learn about the Taman gang's past? What was this horrible accident that happened? Find out next time on a recap of Tokyo Revengers Season 1.